Hi there, I'm Lewis Foster, a journalist in the Manx Radio newsroom. Thank you for choosing this edition of Newscast. Manx Care says demand on a respite care unit for adults with learning difficulties is increasing faster than resources are being made available. It's after recently published figures highlighted the challenges being faced by family carers and care services on the Isle of Man. Back in 2018, the Hollydene unit at Radcliffe Villas in Douglas supported 38 individuals. Now that figure stands at 52. In this year's budget, the facility gained an uplift, but staffing and recruitment remains a problem. Interim Director of Social Care, Safeguarding and Mental Health, David Hamilton, explains the impact it's having and how they aim to fix it.
The demand is increasing. I think people are living longer with learning disabilities and or autism, and I think we need to acknowledge that and prepare for that for the future. So the strategic direction for us is being led by the Department of Health and Social Care, and that's been informed by some research that's been done on behalf of the department by Crossroads. And that's highlighted the need for a wider perspective around carers in terms of thinking about what do we need to do to support carers more across the island. So one of the things that will come out of that, it hasn't quite been published yet, so it's going through the final stages of completion, is how do we support carers to continue to care for as long as they want to and are able to, and how do we help them look after themselves as well as the cared for. So our services in the future will be focused around that. Respite will absolutely be a key part of that, but it's much wider than that as well. So for example, we've just undertaken a review of day services across the island, so Manx Care have commissioned that independently. And again, that is part of the picture, so that is about how we support people with day opportunities and thinking about how we do that better than we are at the moment and building on what we currently have across the island. So I think it's an exciting time in terms of the future of that. But I absolutely accept in the meantime, it's really difficult for carers in particular, and we're doing what we can. And people are doing some really good work out there across Manx Care, the private sector, the voluntary sector, and of course carers themselves who are absolutely dedicated, but are finding it increasingly difficult because, as I said earlier, people are living longer, but carers are getting older and often have health and social care needs themselves.
In terms of Hollydene, over the next year, let's say, what would you like to see happen there?
I'd like to see progress on the new build, clearly, and I know that's 18 to kind of 24 months away, but we'll wait and see. We'll continue to provide services there until that point the new building is available. I'd like to see the staffing improve in terms of numbers. I think they do a fantastic job there with what they have. The turnover is an issue, and the fact that we have to rely a lot on agency staff who are fantastic, but we do need some more permanency in there. I think that would help. And I think just listening a bit more to carers who are receiving that kind of respite care and just being mindful of the impact it has on them if we do have to cancel and we do have to change their routines, which is really difficult for people and the cared for person to deal with. So we're conscious of that. So we'll try and stabilise that as best we can. And equally, we're trying to be a bit more creative around other resources. So whilst we're waiting for the new resource to be built, we can look at how we use some of our residential facilities, for example, to create a respite opportunity or short break opportunity for people, not just Hollydene. So we're exploring that now with some carers to see whether that's an option for them, rather than just being dependent on Hollydene.
One person who relies on the unit is family carer John Shepperd.
Basically, I've been a carer for a very long time. My late wife was the journalist Suzanne Garrett, and she ended up with MS and, nursed her through to when she finally died in 2003. And with my current partner, basically she looks after her brother, who has Downs and is on the autistic spectrum, is one of the most severely cognitive disabled individuals in the island. I've been advocating for improvements in the way that family care is managed in the Isle of Man for over 20 years. In 2007, we established a group called AIC, which was Aggrieved Carers Helping Each Other, because the government was yet again looking to cut elements of the provision that we had. And what we did was we said to them, look, if you don't sort this out properly so that we're not being further marginalised, we will go on strike, and because legally we have no obligation to look after an adult with learning disabilities. That is a responsibility of government, but we do it because we know what would happen to most of our family members if they went into government care. And so we don't want that, we don't want them to be subjected to that. We do it because we care about them. effectively with Hollydene, I mean, for many years, Hollydene has been beneath what was required. I mean, the facility was built in the 80s by Mencap. They provided all the funding. Government gave them the plot of land to build it on. And it should, theoretically, have been modernised some years ago, but it never was. I mean, the actual structure, the masonry structure of the building is fine. But obviously, with current regulations, the rooms are too small. And the plumbing, the electrics and thermal efficiency is way, way down. But all of those could be dealt with. The new unit that they're proposing to build is going to provide exactly the same number of beds that the current units provide, with the exception that they're going to be all singing, all dancing, with en suites and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My worry is that, certainly from having looked at the planning, they intend to build it out of masonry. This is going to take years, with the current weather problems and everything else. And they've designed it in such a way that the existing facility can stay while they're building a new one, but it's going to be incredibly disruptive. And then they're proposing to knock down the existing facility. But a question I would say is why? It would be very easy once you've got the new facility up, you put all the care, all the staff and everybody else in there, and then potentially you can upgrade the old facility, which would give you additional bedrooms above the 12, because even though the department might not have staff to staff them at the moment, at some point they're going to have to increase the amount of respite care available, and that would give them the potential to do it very affordably.
I just want to ask quickly as well about respite care in general. How important is that for carers on the Isle of Man?
Well, most carers get one night a week. The rest of the time, so basically every day you're working pretty much 24/7. You're on call 24/7, and so that one night a week that you get a break, it's the only time you can guarantee to sleep through and potentially do other stuff as well. Theoretically, we should have holidays every year, at least a week every year. But because of the problems with the limitation on respite, what the department is now saying is if you take your holiday, then they potentially will take that, whatever days you use, out of your yearly allowance. So that means you lose 10, 12, whatever it is, days you take out of that. So it's a massive, massive loss. And it's putting more and more pressure on family carers. And as you know, family carers save the government millions of pounds a year. But who wants to sort of do at least 35 hours a week for £155.35 a week? About just over, it's potentially just over £4 an hour. And I mean, most family carers do considerably more hours than that. So it's an we do it purely because we care about our family members. And thankfully, since Manx Care came in, there's been a light at the end of the tunnel. The feeling that we got from Manx Care was that they really do care and they really do intend to make a difference. But, of course, we have a health system out here which was 50 years behind the time. Badly managed, underfunded, etc., etc. And, of course, then the pandemic came along. But, bless their cotton socks, they're certainly, Manx Care are doing what they can within the budgetary constraints they've got. And I think eventually they will get on top of it. But the problem is, every time a carer says, I can no longer cope, you're going to have to take on my family member, you're looking at potentially another £150,000, £200,000 a year that the Manx Care are going to have to find to sort of facilitate that. And, I'm 77, and there's a lot of carers older than me on the island. And so what happens when they no longer can basically do what they're currently doing? It's a vicious circle, and, something quite dramatic needs to be done to change it.
Now, as we've been hearing, there are plans to upgrade the Hollydene unit, the current site being deemed not fit for purpose. but the plans are disputed by some of those at the coalface of this issue. Manx Mencap has its own ideas, saying the current building could be retained and repurposed into an independent living facility and shouldn't be demolished. Fran Tinkler is the charity's health coordinator.
The demand across the board is very much bigger than what Hollydene can cope with. I think staffing is an issue across the whole learning disability community. The parents are, I would imagine, on their knees. My daughter's moved on from there, but to have your plans in place and your respite planned and then to be asked to step down because another emergency has come in or they have to cater for somebody else is really, really problematic for families who are already on their knees trying to care, because really nobody goes for respite unless they really, really need it. And if you think we have a learning disabled population on the island of 1,900 people and we can offer them, I think the latest statistic is 58 beds a week. Some of those beds will be taken by somebody getting 2 nights a week, perhaps even 3 nights a week. They haven't broken it down to say how many people are receiving respite. So that's really a huge concern for us here in Mencap.
We've seen the budget increase this year for the facility. And like I say, there's still 2 staff vacancies, 7 rounds of recruitment, I believe it was, they've tried since last summer to improve matters there. But further down the line, there is, of course, plans for a repurposed facility here. But again, that's disputed. In your words, what is needed to improve the situation there? First and foremost, is it more staff?
Well, definitely staffing across the whole sector needs to be improved. With regard to Hollydene, yes, I think more staff for sure, but I also think that the building possibly isn't fit for purpose anymore, that the new build is really badly needed with more beds in it. And I think that would make the staffing job easier, because when you're trying to cater for profoundly disabled people, and you have a different mix in there as well, it doesn't work. The demands are too big for staff, and it's a hard job looking after profoundly handicapped people and trying to meet everybody's needs across the board.
How many beds ideally would be needed?
Well, I really don't know. That would have to go out to consultation to try to decide how many beds are needed. But there are many ways they can manage the beds, in our opinion, slightly better. That some of the people accessing that respite could live semi-independently in a purpose-built building, which we have offered to fund, which had maybe 15, 16 beds, 15, 16 independent flats with a warden on site. So that would relieve some of the pressure on the demand for respite, because some of those people are accessing respite. So that would be one solution across the board, but really they do need a consultation into and ask parents exactly what they need across the board.
And we look out the window of the office here and we see this brownfield site where the garden centre used to be. That was where you proposed a new facility like you just mentioned.
Yes, we were told that the new respite would go on that centre, which is a really big space. And we were hopeful that we could repurpose Hollydene for the unit that we wanted, because we originally bought Hollydene. It was purchased by Manx Mencap. And that would be easy to repurpose into a 15-bedded unit with a member of staff. It's ideally located because it's right by Centre 21, which is where many of the social activities take place. It's near to the college if any of them want to do evening courses, and it's right on the bus stop, which that cohort of people would be able to use.
Do you feel the Department of Health and Social Care has been listening and communicating effectively with yourselves and other charities?
No, I don't think so at all. I think they don't listen to us. I think they get an idea into their head, and it's very hard to dissuade them, no matter what we get parents to say or what we say. And truthfully, on the ground, the only people that really know what's happening are parents. And unless you're in that situation, you can't judge from the outside what every family needs or what every individual needs or what every individual is capable of.
So first and foremost, if we look, say, to the year ahead, what would you like to see most of all happen with these plans and with the Hollydene facility itself?
Yes. We would like to see the new respite centre built. The idea of a respite centre is purely respite, so wherever it's built does not actually matter. It could be a brown site anywhere on Ireland. Whereas the unit that we want to build has to be accessible for people, and they have to be able to be independent in that. So really that's the plans we would like. We would like them to come and speak to us, speak to parents, and get the overall view of what people really, really need on island and move forward with that rather than ideas. You know, we don't need a huge complex with a massive load of parking. I mean, the parking spaces they're planning for respite is huge. Respite only needs 3 or 4 parking spaces, so that's a huge waste of space. It doesn't fill the need, pure and simple.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio Newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.